is Jessica with Dining Traveler, and I'm at Shilling Canning Company in Washington, D.C., and I'm with Sara Quinteros-Shilling, who is the co-owner of one of the hottest restaurants in Navy Yard. I'm not being biased, but it's true. And Sara, you have a really interesting background. You were born in Bolivia. You are a nutritionist. And so how do you, and I have to say, like, every time I eat here, it's really good, but it also feels healthy. So how do you guys strike that balance?
Thank you. Well, first of all, Jessica, thank you for interviewing me. So I'm a registered dietitian. I call that my day job. And this is kind of my night job. But you know, like, I think nutrition is such a big part of both Reed and my world. And we try to incorporate it just on our daily lives. And I think it kind of just perfuses to the restaurant in general. You know, as like the restaurant's motto is to like source everything local. We're very big on like places, our vendors, our you know, the producers that we get our food from, and that's not just for like the culinary aspect, but for nutrition. You know, I can talk about this for days, but you know, like, food that is sourced locally is just so much better. It's like has such a better like nutrition, health value, and I think to me, like, when you eat real good, like real food, real ingredients, you feel better. And that's definitely the hope with like Shilling Canning Company, is that you come here and that you eat food that we've sourced locally, that is in season. So you're gonna get not only the culinary experience, but you're getting that nutritional value. That as a dietitian, to me, it's like, I know that I'm getting
check all the like I came here for like my first time having brunch here with my friend Carla, and we were like, it's really good, but it doesn't feel like that heavy feeling of brunch. So you guys are doing an amazing job with that. And you know, Reed, you mentioned Reed, who's your husband, and you guys met in culinary school, is that correct?
We did. It was almost 10 years ago, which is, it's hard to believe, but we met in culinary school, and you know, we were there for different paths. You know, he was there because he's a chef and wanted to hone his skills in the culinary world. I was actually there more to understand food from like a chef's perspective, because I think as a dietitian, if you're going to talk about food and recommend food, you should know how to cook.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, you know, the basic things. Like, I love cooking. Like, it's not what I do every day and don't have the passion like the chefs do. But you know, I teach like children. I love, like, with my daughter, like when she's a little older, like I have a huge passion of like teaching kids on like how to properly eat, like even snacks and their own vegetables, making those things appealing for families as well. So it's exciting.
I think that learning to cook, it also makes you eat better, because I know that when you see people that they're struggling like with nutrition, and the number one thing is that they're eating out a lot, you know, and to have kind of like that balance of being in a place where you can eat healthy, but you can eat good food, and knowing that, you know, you're kind of behind the recipes, that also helps. And so I wanted to kind of go with that, because you were saying, you know, like Reed, you know, he's a chef, and you're doing a lot of behind the scenes, because I feel that people don't realize all the work that goes behind the scenes in a restaurant, and especially during times like these. So, you know, you having the background that you do, how, you know, what do you bring to the table here at the restaurant?
Thank you. Well, that's a great question.
No pun intended.
That's a great question. I mean, having a business in itself it's a lot of work. You know, I work full time as a dietitian, and I take care of my daughter, but in the business itself, you know, there's so many aspects, and we've learned through learning to be entrepreneurs that you have a passion and a goal, but it's not just that, you know, maybe that's the heart of the business, but there's everything else. You have to learn your marketing, you have to learn your finances, you have to do everything. So my title here is Director of Business Development. So it really means I do everything else that's not cooking.
Which is a lot of work too.
Right. You know, like doing the daily finances when you're when you're a young couple and like a small business owner, you don't necessarily have, you know, like the budget to source out all of these departments. So we have to do it ourselves. You know, could be a 14-hour work day, and then I'm still doing financials at the end of the night, or I'm calling somebody that needs to.
I know that feeling.
You know, and I'm sure you do. It's just, it's a lot, you know, but it's become a family affair. You know, I think both of our families are very supportive of us. The community that we live here, that's actually has been a gift. Like maybe the neighbors, the people that come into the restaurant have been very supportive too. So that I feel we're very lucky to have here.
And and you having this corporate or not corporate, but working in a more structured environment in a hospital. And I always talk about this because I spent now 20 plus years working for the government, and I feel that a lot of the things that I've learned working in the government have helped me develop my business and grow. For you, what is like your biggest takeaway from aside from the nutrition part, like what is the biggest takeaway from your day job that you bring into your second job?
You know what? I actually love that question because I do get taught a lot from that. I have mentors in the hospital, and I'm not talking about like the medical part. It's the basic structure like communication, how do team building, a lot of like those corporate things that you see, but you realize really just how important they are. It's not just for big organizations, but having a small business with even have maybe 20 people staff. Team building and being able to communicate appropriately and knowing how does like a server versus a cook, what do they do, their roles, it's so important because any break in that communication, can kind of cause something in your day, in your day. But I definitely take a lot from them, and I try to build a structure here that I've seen in my other experiences too.
And you were born in Bolivia, you were raised there part of your childhood, and you came here. And I mean, obviously Shilling is a very American, mid-Atlantic ingredients, and you guys hosted a dinner that I had the opportunity to come to where you guys kind of merged that mid-Atlantic ingredients with Bolivian recipes. So how do you bring that part of you to the menu here? Into the experience?
Well, there's definitely little touches of me in the building.
The Singani cocktails.
Yes. There's always a Singani cocktail.
The Singani, for those who don't know, is a Bolivian spirit. Yes. Very strong Bolivian spirit.
Yes, it's a fortified wine, yeah. But that's also part of like supporting like local businesses because the people importing like some of that Bolivian wine is it's a person, it's a small business owner here in DC, so I get to support her, and again it's still my country. It's little details. I think in Latin America and in Bolivia we eat kind of like the farm to table. It's like you're eating that kind of that way. It just might be cooked together in a different way. So I think we do the same thing here. So it's bringing those flavors. And I think in the future we want to do more collaborations like that where, it's still that mid-Atlantic sourcing from the Chesapeake Bay region, but it doesn't have to be exclusive to Maryland or Virginia. It can still be like flavors from Spain or from Bolivia or from other countries.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, of course. And it's something interesting that I have heard through COVID and the pandemic is that people haven't been able to travel and experience as much as they do. And I think that part of traveling is you experience the food, because food to me is culture.
Yes.
And so I've been thinking of ways that how can I bring food and culture to the table and have people experience travel through their palates at the restaurant. So it's definitely something that I'm working in part of my business development and looking at ingredients and things that we can source that may give us an insight into some other region.
I think that you guys did an amazing job with Bolivia. I haven't been there, but I have family ties there, and I have a good friend that's from there, and she was tasting it. She's like, "Oh my God, this takes me back to Bolivia." So even now, where we can take these big trips, you can still get a little bit through the food. And you mentioned COVID, and this has been completely had a huge impact on your business. And what's been and it's an ongoing thing, and you guys keep on reinventing yourselves as rules change and things change. And for you, what has been like the biggest takeaway or learning experience from this so far?
It's our new normal. I think it's just going to become our permanent normal to constantly be flexible and reinventing. And when everything shut down, I think just like most businesses, we had to change our business model within 48 hours, go to takeout and delivery. And then we started doing, we used to have a larger menu, and now we've gone to a prefix menu, just for multiple reasons, for the way that the restaurant industry is suffering right now. But I think it's taught us like flexibility and innovation. I think the restaurants and the people that are willing to innovate and are flexible are going to be better off, because if you don't adjust during these times, it's not going to be easy.
It's a pivot. It's like people keep on saying, pivot. I'm tired of hearing that word, but it's true. You have to constantly pivot. And but I think that at the end of the day, it also makes menus more creative, and obviously it pushes you guys to come up with. Do you think that, for example, the Bolivian dinner, like that's probably something that came up during the pandemic and meeting people, and so
right. And you know what? And I think as hard as the times have been, I think there's always something positive that comes out of it.
Yeah.
At least I want to believe that something.
So do I. And Latinos are like optimists, eternal optimists.
I'm like, we have to keep looking at what's
My mic por bien knowing.
Exactly. So, I keep telling the staff, my husband, I said, we got to look to what has been good. We've gotten an opportunity to slow down, rethink. We have great staff that has been, and I think trying times like this kind of show you who's going to stay around, who's there for you. And we have phenomenal staff. Like, I only have good things to say. They've supported us through all of it. They stayed through us with all of it. And that's helped us. They brought in ideas to the table, and we're continuing and reinventing ourselves. And so, who knows? Maybe we'll have something else. The Outpost is something that came out of having the pandemic, because we weren't able to open. And I remember the first time we started like just shucking oysters out there on our Outpost, and it got so crowded because people were saying like this is the most normal we felt in months. And I think this was like in April, like when everything was still kind of shut down, and we were just like shucking oysters and selling beers. And one day we're like, I think this is gonna be our Outpost, and now it's become our new permanent.
So it's like a permanent thing.
Our sidewalk cafe,
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's a great way to stay current and come up with new things. And Sara, thank you so much for letting us come here to your space and to share a little bit about your story, which I was very fascinated when I when I first met you. I was like, she's a nutritionist and she's Bolivian and she owns a restaurant. Like, you are a woman and a mom, and because I think a lot of people, we're moms trying to make it in this world. So I really appreciate your time to tell us a little bit of what you do. So appreciate it. Check them out, Shilling Canning Company at Navy Yard in Washington, D.C.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Bye.